Win big with new DRF All Access past performances. With one best-in-class product, you now get all 3 past performance formats. Go to DRF.com and use coupon code 1FREEPP for a free single card today.
Hey everyone, David Aragona here, taking a look at one of a couple of Grade 3 events on Saturday at Santa Anita. Race 7 is the Californian Stakes, going 1.125 miles for the older horses. Pretty small field for this one, just 5 runners entered, and haven't yet seen the morning line, but I would imagine the number 2, Judge Miller, is going to be a short price in this race, the likely favorite. He is a lightly raced 4-year-old coming into just the 4th start of his career, but he's been improving with each start, was a smashing allowance winner most recently by 11 lengths with a pretty flashy speed figure. So based on the strength of that performance, have to think that he's going to attract plenty of support stepping up against Stakes Company for the first time, but he will be stretching out to the 1.125 mile distance, the furthest he's ever attempted. And some others in this field have already gone that far and done it with success. So we'll see if Judge Miller can be successful in this sternest class test of his career so far. I think the pace projector is going to inspire some confidence in Judge Miller's backers in this race, because you see that favors frontrunner's flag showing up, and he is displayed on a clear early lead. I wonder if this is actually going to play out this way on the racetrack, though, because trainer Doug O'Neill has entered a couple of horses in here, the number 3 Mixto and the number 4 Mystification, who are shown pretty close to each other tracking on the pace projector. But Mystification is a horse who figures to be the bigger price of the two and has shown speed on occasion, especially when he's gone longer. Both of those have been turf races, but he has shown the propensity to want to lead in those races. So I wonder if he could get the more aggressive ride of the two and potentially apply some pressure to Judge Miller in the early stages. Maybe it won't matter at all, because Judge Miller might just be a more talented horse, but I do think that's worth noting given the strategy that could be employed by the connections of those Doug O'Neill trainees. If this race comes apart, which doesn't seem likely, you will note that the number 5, Mr. Fisk, does have the LP flag on the pace projector, and we'll see how far back he really is going to be launching from, since this field is pretty small and does figure to be compact in the early stages. Let's go through these runners in post-position order, beginning with the number 1, None Above the Law. And hard to build a strong case for this one. He's been campaigned as more of a turf horse recently, now switching back to the dirt. His most recent dirt attempt, it came in that allowance race that was won by Judge Miller. He finished 17 lengths behind that rival in late February, was claimed out of that spot for $50,000, debuted for the new barn, Jorge Parabon, the trainer, last time out. Didn't really take any sort of step forward getting back on the turf. So he's just a tough one to build a case for, but he will be a big price in this Californian. The number 2 is Judge Miller, that likely favorite in this race. And we'll take a look at that very impressive optional claiming victory that I was referencing earlier. Got a gigantic 127 time form US speed figure for this performance. And you could see this horse just bounding away from his rivals, showing no signs of stopping as he tries 2 turns for the first time in this event, going the 1 mile distance. Now, there's not much behind him in this race. It wasn't the strongest field overall. He was bet down to 3 to 5 odds for a reason this day, but you really had to like the way that he finished off that race with such power his first time trying the 2 turns. And it's not like that 127 speed figure came out of nowhere. He had gotten a flashy 121 when he broke his maiden in a much harder fought effort in his prior start, but was facing some good rivals that day and really gutted it out. So at least you could know that he can fight off some rivals in a tussle to the finish line. We'll see if he's able to continue improving with added ground. He started out at 6 furlongs, then tried 7, then went the 8 furlong, 1 mile distance last time. Now he's stretching out yet another furlong to try 1 mile and an eighth here. And we'll see if that incremental progression will work for him. He certainly has pedigree to continue improving with distance, being by Curlin. His Dam Cavorting was a very talented horse, a versatile sort that could sprint and go long. He is the full brother to Clairiere, who is the multiple Grade 1 winner. Primarily a horse who preferred a mile to 16th. A mile and 8 felt like it was always pushing Clairiere's stamina a little bit to the limit. So we'll see what Judge Miller does in here, but he definitely seems like the most exciting prospect entered in this Californian, given the brilliance that he's displayed so far and his apparent upside. Number 3 is Mixto. He is one of those two Doug O'Neill trainees in this race. We'll take a look at his race 2 back when he was third in the Grade 2 San Pasqual. And I'm showing this replay because it was going this same mile and an eighth distance. And I think it displays some of the characteristics that we've grown accustomed to seeing from Mixto. He sort of lost some position coming around the far turn, and that's been a bad habit of his. He comes off the bridle about after the 3/8 pole. Antonio Fraser really has to get the pumping on him. He seems to be going backwards coming to the quarter pole, but once he gets into the straightaway, he sort of that finds his stride again and finishes off his races much stronger once he's able to run straight through the lane. And you saw that in that replay as he was really getting to the top two, Newgrange and Newgate. On that day, both of those runners would be among the favorites in this spot if they were coming back here. Now, Mixto then stepped up to 10 furlongs to try the Santa Anita handicap last time. Similar situation, contesting the pace, lost position around the far turn, but was trying to come on at the end. Just couldn't really make that re-rally because a mile and a quarter against that tough field was probably stretching him a little bit. I like him getting back to the mile and an eighth here. They're taking the blinkers off from last start. He only wore them for one race. Didn't feel like they made a big difference on him, so don't really care about that too much. I do like that he's retaining Antonio Fraser, a jockey who seems like he's really gotten accustomed to Mixto's quirks, and I think he's going to be able to anticipate the fact that this horse is likely to back off a little bit on the far turn. He's going to get after him at that point in the race to try to keep him engaged, and I think in this smaller field, maybe Mixto can hold his position a little better at that critical stage of the race around the quarter pole, and you know that he can finish strongly going the mile and eighth like we saw two back. The number 4 is Mystification, the other Doug O'Neill trainee in this race. Like I was saying at the top, he's run well going 2 turns. It's just both of those 2 turn races have come on the turf. He broke his maiden going a mile on the turf back in 2023, early 2023, all the way in January, over a year ago. Ran well that day, came off a long layoff in February of this year, and I should say June of 2023. I'm squinting. My eyes aren't so good looking at those Timeform USPPs, but he came off the about 7-month layoff in February to try the Palos Verdes 2 back. That was a tough spot to come off the layoff. Ran okay, going the 6 furlongs. And then last time out, stepped up to the mile again, back to the turf, ran the best speed figure of his career, but just wonder if he's more of a turf horse overall from a surface preference standpoint. And I wonder if he's really in this race to provide some pace for a horse like Mixto, who seems like he could be one that will be finishing, and Mystification just seems to have more of that natural front-running style than his stablemate. And then the number 5, Mr. Fisk, closing out this field. He is the lone Bob Baffert representative in this race. We'll go back in his past performances to check out his 9 furlong victory in the Grade 3 Native Diver at Del Mar. And he ran well to win this race, staying on to get the job done over the classy Skinner. Newgrange behind him this day. That runner came back to win a couple of stakes over the winter at Santa Anita. So the form lines have been strong from this Native Diver. Unfortunately, Mr. Fisk could not stick with Newgrange when that one stepped up to win the San Pasqual. After that, Mr. Fisk just never really in the mix that day, actually also beaten by today's rival Mixto on that occasion. And I wonder if getting back into another race that doesn't feature a whole lot of pace, doesn't project to be much movement in this spot, if he's one that can really pass these horses going from last to first to get the job done. He was able to stay more engaged in that Native Diver and was in striking position at the top of the stretch. I think that really made the difference for Mr. Fisk, who is more of a one-pace type, and we'll see if he's able to do the same under Kazushi Kimura on Saturday. So let's throw up my picks for this Californian. I put the number 3 Mixto on top, just going for the minor upset. Judge Miller, he's the exciting runner in this race, stepping up against Stakes Company for the first time, but he's trying this class and this new distance for the first time. And I generally want to take a skeptical view of horses that are tackling these new hurdles for the first time. And Mixto is the horse that has done it before. His form has been solid, and I think he does have that propensity or that aptitude to take one more step forward if he can stay a little bit more engaged through the middle of this race. So the number 3 Mixto, my top pick in the Grade 3 Californian on Saturday at Santa Anita. Good luck if you're playing the races this weekend.